Hello everyone! How's it going? Thanks for joining on in. As I'm getting ready to rock and roll here, I've got a few notes because I am currently reading, as some of you trickle on in, I'm currently reading, oh my goodness, now I'm having like the biggest brain fart. The Willpower Instinct. Okay, I was like, it's not mindset, what am I reading? The Willpower Instinct. Hey Paul, hey Andrew, thanks for rolling on in. So I just got a haircut. What do you guys think? I think it looks pretty good. I really like going short as I transition into spring. I feel like I did it early this year, but I was in bad need of a haircut. So yes, I'm going to be talking, Paul, about the book. Not the Willpower. Oh yeah, the Willpower Instinct. Okay, what is wrong with me right now? It's called the Willpower Instinct, and if it is not already on your reading list or something that you have read, I highly encourage you to get the book. I'm actually listening to it, and I'm going to buy it because I want to read it. I'm listening to it, and I just keep rewinding and re-listening to parts of it, and I feel like I need to like hold the book and read pages of information because this book is just so valuable. Hey Noon, look at my hair. I got my first haircut ever. I did. I cut my hair literally today. I just came from my appointment. Guys, my aunt here, Melanie James, owns an amazing salon in New Jersey. I'm going to give you a little shameless plug here. It's Blue Salon, and I literally have gone there for my entire life since the day that she opened that salon. And I've only gotten one haircut elsewhere, and it was a convincing and coercing by my friend Lindsay Vay in college, and she took me to a mall haircut, and it was a scarring experience. And my aunt has always done such an amazing, beautiful job on my hair, and the salon is always a dream. And I quite literally travel back to the East Coast 2 to 3 times a year, and I get my hair cut religiously every time there. I have never gotten my hair cut here. And I got a cut for the first time today. It was a little scary, but she was amazing too. So she's carrying on your legacy, Noon, here in California. I like it. Okay, so back to the Willpower Instinct, because this information is so mind-blowing that you are going to have a little mind explosion like I did. This book is so fascinating that literally while I was listening to it today in the car by myself, I kept like having audible noises come out of me because I was like, oh my word, what? Like I would literally make comments like that as I was listening to this book by myself in the car because that's how mind-blowing the mind is, and really the science of the mind. And when we start to understand the mind and how it works, and this book in particular focuses on willpower, which is so fascinating because it's really the success or the demise of all of our goals and all of our hopes and dreams. So willpower. This book dives deep into so many different aspects of willpower. For those of you just joining in, I see some of you rolling on in. Anna, thank you for joining. It's called The Willpower Instinct. It is so mind-blowingly amazing. So we're going to dive right in. Today, the part that I read was about how we as human beings perceive ourselves, our future selves, as totally different human beings. So when we think about ourselves, we perceive ourselves in a state of being. So we think about ourselves in the now. We trigger a certain part of our brain that is in a state of being and in the state of now. And when we think of our future selves, what is super fascinating is we actually use a different part of our brain where we're associating our future self with a different human being. So we perceive ourselves as stronger, more motivated, whatever it looks like to achieve the goal, we envision that in our future selves. So let's say the goal is for me to go to yoga and to be fearless about not feeling sick within yoga, okay? I perceive my future self, because I don't want to go to yoga right now, today, I perceive my future self, the self that's going to show up for yoga tomorrow, as being strong and fearless and way more motivated than I am today. That future self is going to be gung-ho about yoga. I envision my future self as somebody much more motivated, much more strong, much more fearless, much more self-controlled, having much more willpower, whatever it looks like. I perceive my future self as having all of that jazz. But what's fascinating is the reason that that happens, and the reason that this is often the demise to our willpower and the success of our goals, is because that's not true. It's just the way that the mind works. So when we think of ourselves, we're actually triggering a certain part of our brain that's perceiving ourselves in a state of being. And when we think about that future person, that future self that's going to be going to yoga or sticking to the diet or quitting smoking or whatever the goal may be, we're perceiving as that future self as the super motivated, like unstoppable human being who's going to be able to achieve those goals. But what's fascinating is we aren't associating that person with ourselves. We're associating that person as a different human being. So we're like, yeah, that person's going to be able to go to yoga. That person's going to be able to quit smoking. So what is super interesting was they did a study. They did a ketchup study. And they created this disgusting concoction of ketchup and soy sauce mixed together. And they told students that they had to drink it. The students who had the ketchup and soy sauce mixture in front of them committed to drinking 2 tablespoons of the liquid in the present now. Their mind was thinking to themselves, that's freaking gross, don't drink that, red flag. When asked to drink that same exact liquid 2 weeks later and asked how much of it they would drink, the average was a half a cup of that same liquid, more than double the 2 tablespoons. I'm pretty sure that's the calculations, because I was like, what? So basically these people who are associating their future self, a 2-week in the future version of themselves, they were associating with a different human being, therefore they were committing to drinking so much more of this nasty liquid. When it was right in front of them, they were able to rationalize and think properly and be like, no, I don't want to drink that in the now. Their rational brain, their state of being brain was working, saying, no, I don't want that. But do you see how interesting that is? How the future self was like, I'll drink a half a cup of that, no problem. Like, what? And then what I found to be the most fascinating example, and the book went through a series of examples, but the one that I was audibly gasping and having a mind-blowing moment by myself was, get this, so many people have difficulty saving for retirement because they don't associate themselves as needing those future funds. They are disassociated with their future self, so they can't envision themselves experiencing that delayed gratification. They can't envision themselves wanting and needing that money for savings. Their current self so badly wants to spend that money in the state of being that they're at that they can't rationalize and tell themselves no and squirrel it away for later for retirement because they're disassociated from that other human being, if that makes sense. Their future self seems like a different person, so it's really hard to save for retirement, right? So they did this ridiculous experiment where they used virtual reality to create avatars of the people in the study. So if I was in the study, it would be an avatar of me 60 years from now, fully needing, and thank you guys, I see those explosions of hearts and I love it. It's giving me air and I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining in. And isn't this so fascinating? I see all that explosion of amazingness, and it's because this is blowing all your minds, I'm sure. So ultimately in where was I? Okay, so focusing on retirement. So it's so difficult for people to focus on the retirement because they're disassociated from the feeling of needing that money. And what they did was they created this study. So they created, they brought in individuals, they created an avatar that was a certain amount older than them, 30, 40 years, basically in that state of retirement. And they did such a good job that the avatar really resembled them. It didn't look like Aunt Mary or Uncle Joe, it looked like them at 60 or 70 needing those retirement funds. And what it would do, it would take the person who was involved in the study, and in a virtual reality space, it would bring their avatar in. And they were surveyed and asked different questions and put through different experiences. And what they were able to perceive through the virtual reality is they perceived their avatar responding. So it mimicked all of their actions. If they turned to the right, it mimicked them turning to the right. If they verbalized, it mimicked them verbalizing. So they basically were able to associate themselves with the avatar of their future self. They were able to get to know their future self and understand the value of saving for retirement. Their perception changed. They were able to associate their future self with their current self. And get this, the group that did the study literally saved double the amount that the group that didn't have the avatar did. Like, how insane is that? That's such an interesting, really... Paul, 60-year-old me avatar is also sleepy. Yeah, I'm sleepy right now. I feel like 60-year-old me is definitely like ancient and going to bed at like 6 p.m. But how interesting is that? Basically, when the participants of the study were able to associate themselves with the future self and like actually become amicable with that person, have rapport with that person, visualize themselves as their future self in virtual reality, they were able to be incentivized to save. And they were actually able to save far beyond the study. Like, they changed life habits because of the study. How interesting. So anyways, the book is a fascinating one. The Willpower Instinct. I'm actually going to be ordering a physical copy because I like need to hold this book in my hands and read the pages. But the entire chapter on, and the entire section on the perceived future self was so fascinating, because it really talked about how the best way to see success in your goals, so if you, now that you know this, right, knowledge is power, having the understanding of how our mind works is so mind-blowing, because now we can combat this, right? We know what to expect. So the best way to combat derailing yourself off of your goals because of disassociation with future self is to really envision yourself in that future self. And people do this in a variety of ways. They meditate, they visualize, they have words of affirmation, they journal about it. But basically, there are a variety of different tools. The book even mentions writing emails to yourself, writing letters to yourself, journaling, taking videos of yourself. Anything that you can do to like associate yourself and visualize yourself in your future space as your future self, accomplishing whatever goal it is that you want to achieve. You get to do that now to create an association with that future self, to be able to see through the goal and to see that goal to fruition. So cool. Alex, yes, you've got to go back and watch. It's like a fascinating topic, and the experiments are next level. I was mind blown. So I encourage you guys, if you're just joining in now, I encourage you to go in back and watch on the replay, because this is a really important one. It will 1,000% give you some tidbits in accomplishing your goals, because I now have a great new tool in my tool belt to combating the what's the word I'm looking for? Combating the combating the self-sabotaging of future self. Self-sabotaging is the word I was looking for. Sorry, guys. And giving like the now self success in being able to envision that future self. So, ooh, Paul, I've written emails to myself that that gets sent a year later. It's interesting. I would love to know more about that. That sounds very interesting. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're having a great Wednesday, hump day. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.